What's up, family?
Yo.
How are you?
Yo. Yo. So, how old are you, Jordan?
I'm 19, turning 20 this year.
Marital status?
Oh, very single.
Very single.
Very single.
Very, very single.
Looking?
That is me. Kind of. I was,
Ooh.
but I kind of had to just take a step back.
Okay. Good
Just
call.
be like, focus on me for a little bit,
Get your
Yeah.
priorities right.
Give me
Yeah.
a break, girls. Just give me some time to breathe.
And girls are saying that to me. Oh, man. Nah, that's good.
awesome.
So you're born in KL
Yeah.
in
yeah.
Malaysia.
But I moved here when I was 6. So really, I'm very westernized.
What memories of
I
Malaysia?
remember I remember going to primary school and hating it. Like literally half of the first year of like proper primary school. And it was like probably the worst experience of my life. Traumatized
Oh,
me
wow.
really
Wow.
bad.
Is that
Yeah.
English speaking? Or?
No, it was a Chinese school.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, in Malaysia, they it's like standard to be, I guess if you're a Malaysian Chinese, it's standard to be trilingual because you have to be able to speak Chinese, Malay, and English. So yeah, I'm glad I got out of that one.
Yeah, right.
English is hard enough.
I was going to say, I struggled just with English at
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
Three, far out.
So when
English
you
is
were
tough for me.
6,
Yep.
your dad spoke Mandarin?
Yeah, they still speak. My mum and dad actually both speak Mandarin quite well.
Okay.
They both also can speak Malay because they were educated in Malaysia. And they can also both speak their own Chinese dialect that kind of belongs to their own like clan.
Your dad's English is terrible.
Oh.
I see him. No way, he's a
I like to
killer.
think I've stepped up. It's just like,
So that's like his fourth language, English. Their fourth language.
he kind of learned English as one of his first.
Oh, okay.
So the rest was just kind of like, because his family spoke Cantonese with each other, but they also speak English. So sometimes like a sentence that he puts together can have like 4 different languages worth of words in one. And they understand each other perfectly well. It's pretty funny.
So what can you speak?
Just English.
Just English.
But I'd like to think my English is better than theirs.
Yeah.
It's not, but
Yeah.
it's there, yeah. My
Wow,
English.
that's cool.
Mm.
Okay. So
Oh, yeah.
you sort of just forsook the Cantonese, Mandarin, Malay
Yeah.
dialect.
I tried learning Mandarin pretty much all through like middle school and high school here, but it just never really stuck because I think the thing you really need to do when you want to learn a language properly is be like constantly exposed to it,
Yeah,
be able
yeah.
to constantly use it.
Uh-huh.
And my parents kept being like, "Yeah, go learn Chinese," but then they'd speak to me in English at home. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
English was just kind of like the more comfortable thing for
Okay.
me. And yeah.
They needed to speak Chinese at home, like
Yeah.
Mandarin at home.
Yeah, they needed to. If I were to really like get the hang of it, but
Yeah.
it never really happened that way because it was just more convenient. Like take out the trash, English is the way to go.
So do you have any memories of KL? Do you know remember where you lived? Have you been back since and all that
yeah,
stuff?
I've been back a couple times actually. We used to live in like some condo apartment that was like about 9 stories up. Everything was built really high because space
Yeah.
was like really constrained. So yeah, I just remember always being able to look down and see like the little cars
Wow.
down on the road, and they were like like my toy cars really because they were so small.
Was it
So-
do you remember the suburb?
Not really, no. I'm sorry.
I remember going to Malaysia, and they have these signs, Selamat Pagi.
I don't even know what that means.
I didn't either. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, we're still in Selamat Pagi. I thought it was a suburb,
Mm.
but I think it says welcome or something.
We're always in Selamat Pagi.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this is massive, your Selamat Pagi.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Have
cool.
you guys still got family there?
Yeah. Well, mostly in Singapore now, but they're pretty close, like maybe 5 hours drive apart. So
Yep.
yeah, most of them have relocated to Singapore, but yeah, Malaysia's like kind of now like a much more occasional visit. Like I probably haven't been back there in about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's mostly like Singapore because that's where majority of the family is.
Okay, so you came over here
Mhm.
when you were 6?
Yep.
Where'd you go? What school did you go to here?
So I started off in Varsity College.
Oh, yeah.
Year 2 I came into, and I finished up there in year 9, and then I went to Queensland Academy for Health Sciences in year 10 to 12 and finished up there and graduated there.
Where?
Queensland Academies. So that's like
Trade college?
no.
Is that for like
It's for all the special
education?
special kids, yeah, the ones that need special attention.
On the
No.
Being a genius.
Sure.
Hey,
That's what they
it
told
probably
us.
is.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
they told us. But then when we went there, we were like, oh man, it's just a bunch of weirdos here that think they're smart. No, it was good.
So how like a big school, small school?
It's very small.
How
Like,
many?
because there was year 10, 11, 12 only,
'Kay.
and each cohort was like average 70 to 100 people. So it was like
Oh, a
the
few
whole
hundred.
school was never exceeded like 400. So you pretty much knew everyone by the time you were done. So
Where is that school?
Southport.
Okay.
So it's like just behind where Griffith Uni is.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were
Wow.
just,
What did you have to do to go there?
what I had to do to get in.
Yeah.
I had to go through like a selective entry exam and interview, and I had to like put together
A rocket ship.
just about. They made us compile all of our best pieces of assessment and bring it to the interview. So we had to like kind of show what we had done. So yeah, it was pretty legit. But yeah, it was kind of like a little badge of honor to be
Yeah,
able to get in there.
come
It was
on,
good.
man.
That's awesome, man.
But-
Was it expensive?
I
know.
don't think it was much more expensive than a public school. Like
Okay.
I'd imagine it would be a bit more, but I didn't really know the details of that. But if I'm being honest, I don't think it was worth the extra difficulty of being there, because I think as long as you have the focus and the mental to try in like a public school, you'd get just as far.
So you
That's
reckon if you go to William Duncan, you could actually?
You don't just walk in there for a start. There's some boxes you've also got to tick.
mate, William Duncan.
Yeah,
Mate.
you have to live.
Where
in-
even is that?
Let me tell you.
It's one of the
something about
elite
that.
schools. One of the elite schools.
That's
and
where I went to school.
one of the elite
Oh, yeah.
schools. on the Gold
yeah,
Coast.
yeah, pretty elite.
I think you tried a few and
Yep.
and they didn't quite meet your standard.
Your family needs to be on Centrelink for 6 years.
That's a very tight criteria.
Yeah, no, it's a great school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're studying now.
Yeah.
What are you studying?
So I'm in the University of Queensland up in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing electrical engineering, and I'm in my 3rd year now. So I just kind of went straight into it from uni, didn't take a gap year. So I've pretty much been studying for like 15 years straight.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you went to this special school,
I don't like the word special.
what is it called? Queensland
Queensland Academy.
Academy.
Yeah.
Is that like give you a advantage to go into any sort of university or anything?
It's supposed to, because the idea is that the program is called the International Baccalaureate Program. So basically, it's supposed to be internationally renowned. So you could go overseas and study with, and it's kind of like it's like a universal point system that you can transfer over really easily. And the idea is that the program itself is just really hard. So if you can get a good score in your in like a good IB score, then it's pretty much like you can get in anywhere if you can get the best of the best. So I didn't personally use that. I just wanted to stay here. So that's another reason why I kind of thought just doing the regular like standard system would have been enough if I just tried hard.
Did you do well though?
Yeah, I got the equivalent of like an OP3, so pretty alright. It's like
OP1's the best.
yeah, I think so.
OP25.
Yeah.
This is the above 20.
Hey man, like it wasn't.
Right,
Isn't it the high?
leave me
Man, are you
alone.
nervous today or
I'm
something?
losing my voice. a
Oh,
bit.
I got you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not the higher the score, the better. It's like golf.
No, it's lower.
Oh,
It's
so
like
we're on a
golf.
Three.
three handicap here.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you okay, relationship with God. You're always brought up in this, right?
Yeah. So,
So
I was
Christian
born into
family.
a Christian family. Yeah.
And like a awesome Christian,
Yeah.
like full on
Oh yeah.
Holy Ghost, love the Lord,
Big time.
big time.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you didn't agree with that, or it didn't make sense to you? Like, for example, you know, a lot of kids growing up, they go to school with some friends aren't Christian, and they're kind of like, man, I don't dig this.
I don't think that I've ever had a moment of being like, I don't really believe this, because I just kind of knew the whole time that it was real. I bet that's the problem for most of my life is that I only knew it. I'd never experienced it, because for me it was like my home environment, my church environment, everywhere that I was, because I'm an only child, so I basically never get the end of it with my parents. So kind of all I was getting was like,
You get all their
constant-
attention.
Yeah, all the attention, all of the impartation, which is a blessing.
Yeah.
But it's
Impartation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
but it was also a bit of like a spoon feed thing sometimes, which is not like, it's not their fault, because I'm the only child,
Yeah.
so that's just how it ends up, and it doesn't leave too much room for you to like find God by yourself when it's kind of like in every minute of every day, pretty much. That's outside of
good.
school.
It's a good point, good perspective.
And it was like I had my own times of experience to really almost like go off track and then find him again, and that was more like after I was 16, 17 years
Right.
old. That was the period when I kind of, I guess, got a little more independence and had to learn how to do things more and find God by myself.
Yeah.
Which was a really good opportunity for me, because since then, I feel like I've just grown like kind of like this.
Yeah,
not,
cool.
not just like, yeah.
Was there, I, in my experience, the educated community can be very opposite, science-based.
Yeah.
and, whatever.
Like super atheist.
Yeah,
and all that,
atheist. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you come up with a bit of resistance from that at school?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my the relationship that I got into in high school, she was super atheist. Like she kind of had like no semblance of an idea of God. Or
What grade was this?
this was like when I was in year 12.
Oh wow.
So, and it was like, it was called Queensland Academy for Health Sciences. So really people studied there to go into med, which means they'd be doing biology and chemistry. And in biology, you learn a lot about evolution.
Yeah, of course.
So that was the main thing that I would come up heaps against when I was just talking with people. And it's like, I never found that area interesting enough to really look into. So when people would want to bring up something with me, if they knew that I was Christian, I would kind of just not really engage with it, because I felt that there was no real benefit, first of all. And secondly, I felt like I wasn't educated myself enough on the topic, because I'd never been interested in it.
Right.
Wow, man.
I've always just been like, I think you dwell too much on where we come from, like whether or not we grow up or we came from monkeys, or we were, birthed straight from God's image. But for me, it was kind of like, how does that influence how you live now? It doesn't really, because if you're just kind of focusing on the whole aspect of where do we come from, how was the universe birthed, and then so what if you come across the answer, which by the way you never will in your lifetime, you'll never come across the absolute answer. But even if you do, what does that do for you? So for me, that was kind of like, I don't really need to involve myself in conversations like this. And that actually helped me a lot, because I would imagine if you wanted to pick that sort of fight, there would have been a lot of people in that school that would have wanted to engage with that.
You're thinking this way at school.
Yeah, I was in year 11, 12.
That's why he went to that special school.
Yeah.
He thought.
Before you said that, I was wondering why I wasn't allowed to go there. No, man, that's wow.
Yeah.
And that's true. And even for people now,
Mm.
even for people arguing now, I love what you just said. How does that affect how you're living now anyway? And you're never going to know the absolute truth.
Yeah.
And they're not going to. You don't want to pick a fight with that, because they're not prepared to change anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally,
Because
Yeah.
it's science-based.
Mm.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like so strongly reinforced in that environment anyway. Like I don't think I was equipped to fight that. So
So did you just do the answers that would get you the marks based on what they wanted? You couldn't really stir the pot.
Yeah, in a way, and it was quite clear to them that I just didn't want to engage with them.
Yeah,
And what they wanted to do with that response was I just really left it up to them.
Yeah.
Like if they want to think that I just don't know what I'm talking about, then that's on them. I don't
Yeah,
really want to
okay.
be friends with you
That's,
anyway.
that's it probably guarded your heart a lot
Yeah, definitely.
during that time, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
But it was definitely unavoidable when there were people that were like quite close to you that would
Yeah.
challenge you on that. Like for example, in that relationship that I
Yeah.
got into,
Yep.
and that was actually caused one really big argument. And
Right.
yeah, and I felt quite confronted about it at the time because I'm like, wow, do I really not know anything
Yeah, right.
about any of this, about where we come from? And yeah, the word kind of like indoctrinated got thrown around a lot
Yeah,
at me.
sure.
So it was kind of like, you've been brought up in the church, you've been
You're
brought up with your
brainwashed.
religion. Yeah, you're brainwashed and you don't really know any better. You've never tried to find the answers for yourself. I'm like, just shut up, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What was the end result of that? Like, how did that end?
Oh, it kind of just died away. Like it became a conversation. Like it just kind of, I took the same approach that I took to everyone else. I just didn't want to engage with it. And I tried to for the sake of engaging with it, but then it just never really got anywhere and it just kind of died off and it never brought up again, really.
Right.
So it was pretty.
Wow, Jordan.
That's good.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So you're okay.
I was going to say, did you have any Christian friends along the journey at school?
I did. So that was actually a blessing. I didn't have too many because there were few and far between there. But the good thing about being at the school was that it wasn't just like straight up atheists. Like there were people of all sorts of different
Cool.
religions and beliefs and faiths there. Like there was a lot of Muslim people, a lot of Christians there, a lot of very, very conservative Christians there too. But it was all kind of like a mix. And I think the thing that I learned the most through that was kind of finding a middle ground and a common ground to stand on. So like one time I sat down for lunch, there was a Muslim, there was an atheist, there was a Christian and me sitting there, and it was like we were just having a good old time. So, you know, like at the end of the day, it is what you believe is important. But for me, it was like it is important to find people that believe in what you do. But I suppose in an environment like that, it's high school, it doesn't matter all too much.
Right.
Just as long as you have people to help you get through it.
We were just talking about this earlier today.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
much that environment, what happens in it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We,
How many friends have you got from school? From high
Oh,
school?
Like two.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
It dies down so fast.
Yeah. Real quick, eh?
Because you just learn that, like, I guess my friend circle has really shrunk over time because you kind of just learn the people that you should invest in and the
Yeah.
people that you don't need to, the people that are bad for you, in fact, and you
Yeah.
just kind of like let those, those relationships die.
Was there I think it's your parents are beautiful people. They've
Mm.
obviously, really sheltered you and protected you, but at the same time allowed you to explore your own
Yeah.
your own walk. And that's sort of the beautiful picture of,
Mm.
You come to an age where you have to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
What age was that for you where you actually chose, I'm going to etch out my own walk with the Lord, without your mum and dad saying, you have to find your own walk with God? When did that sort of hit home? I need to find this for myself.
It was probably when just like maybe a few months before I turned 18.
Okay.
So that was a couple months after my relationship had ended. And that was something that kind of like stuck with me for a while. And I just kind of wanted to bury it and move on and kind of try to start things back up with God in a way that just as if nothing had ever happened, which didn't work. It felt very, very stale. I had no real traction there. But then when I realized that I needed to change the way that I lived, the way that I, even the way that I thought, because of the things that had been put into me during that time period, like that's when I realized, I have to really get serious with God. I have to come back and I have to really just go all out for him.
Wow.
And even then, like, it's funny because I think at pretty much every single point in my life, I've always felt like I've always been at the same time, this is the closest I've ever been to God. But at the same time, I know there's more. So in a way, at every point, I had always hit my limit or my perceived limit with God. And then there's always more. There's always more. There's always more. And I think if anything, I've discovered maybe just in the last year that there really is no limit, because I've just found that the more that I let go, the more that I yield, the more he's willing to do in me and the faster he's wanting me to grow and just keep building me up more and more. And that's why I kind of feel like the trajectory has almost been like just really flat for every year leading up to like maybe 17 and a half, and then just after that
Cool.
taken off, because I've just realized how much I'd been lacking in most of my life, despite having been brought up in a Christian household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose, and that's probably what I've seen as people brought up in a Christian home. The parents mean well, intend well, and yet the kids resent it.
Yeah, it's hard.
And
Hey,
then they just go do their own thing.
yeah,
And like you say, how like you were 18
Mm.
and you came to the realization. Sometimes their journey's like 38,
yeah,
48.
Yeah. Too
You
long.
know what I mean?
yeah,
And
Heaps.
they've sort of made this, oh, my parents are too strict, too religious, too da da da, and they made this sort of promise. Oh man, it's not for me. But they don't try and
Yeah.
etch out their own walk,
yeah.
and it's quite sad.
Yeah, but I think the thing that really tipped me over the edge was realizing how much that my apathy had cost, because it was that time when I wasn't really focusing on them. I was focusing on my relationship. I was like furthest thing from God. I really put a strain on my relationship with my parents.
Right.
And, as an only child, they were like the only people that I really had my whole life pretty much. So when I realized after that it
they've had
ended,
you, they've had you their whole life.
exactly.
Your whole life, they've had you. Yep.
And
Samuel's listening, going, "Yes, Marshall, tell him, tell him."
They're pretty much the only ones that have known me my whole life.
yeah,
Yep.
yep,
So in
it's
that,
true.
how were they? Did they knuckle
It
down on you, double down on
They
you?
definitely tried,
Yep.
and it was tough because it was like I was constantly having to choose between them and her. So it was a constant wrestle, and it was like, who do I make angry today? Is it her? Is it my parents? Like, who is it gonna be? And it was a constant like balancing act that I had to decide. Do I choose to make them happy? Do I choose to spend more time with one or the other, which was actually the big thing, especially my mum, because I'm like only child, so I'm like mama's little boy in a way.
Yeah.
So when I think the idea of kind of being taken off track by like another, I guess, girl was like really tough for her.
Yeah.
So I think my whole relationship there was definitely hardest on her. But I think realizing how much that it cost me with them made me really be like, I haven't been doing this right, and I really need to find my course and my track. So in a way, it strangely wasn't even like I needed to. It wasn't. I needed to etch my own path.
Sure.
But the real factor that made me realize how much I had to do that was realizing how much I had lost with them, and how much I needed to repair and make up for. And that was just a really big indication of how far my life had taken off track.
That's the maturity coming through, and the wisdom starting to grow in you.
Yeah.
But what was it that allowed you? Because you're intelligent, you're smart, and I see a lot of people make the same mistake. What was it that allowed you to go with someone? What drawed you into her? Because not being a Christian, so you knew that was wrong. Your parents don't approve. That's wrong. So everything was fighting against that.
Yeah.
What was drawing you into it?
Yeah.
Good.
So that was a good question. I've always been, as long as I can remember, the guy that wants a partner, who's always longed for that exclusive companionship. So for me, this first opportunity at getting it was like, wow, it's magical, and it so infatuated, right? Because I was like 16, 17 years old, and it was my first experience of that exclusive like intimacy. And in my own walk with God, I hadn't even experienced that yet. So this was like the first real thing that I had. So I wasn't gonna. I was like so like death grip on it.
It might be the only one.
Yeah.
That was that a thought? Like there might not be. This might be it.
Yeah.
Probably more like this is the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
exactly. Yeah, it was like I'm gonna marry this one, even though it was like all sorts of red flags that I chose to ignore. First big one being she didn't believe in God at all. So I was,
that's a little conflict.
yeah.
Quite a big conflict.
Oh,
I realized that.
Yeah,
And
of course.
It was like I always treated that as a convenience factor, right? Because I've been told that my whole life by my
Right.
parents and
Yeah,
by
yeah,
everyone around me, that they were like, don't date anyone that's not Christian because, you know, you're not going to believe in the same thing. And it, to me, was always like, oh, it's just really inconvenient when you want to go to church and they don't. But it's
interesting.
I just realized when I got in there, I learned the hard way that it's so much more than that. It's literally every argument, every conflict you
Yeah.
have stems from the
Yeah.
fact that at your core you don't align
Yeah.
and you don't believe in the same things. Simple things like forgiveness, for example, resentment, holding things against somebody that you love, was something that was so evident on her side, but for me it was like, why would you ever do that? Because in me, that was the Christian upbringing, that I knew that the best way to go about things was always to forgive. Like regardless of what they do, you forgive them, you let it go, you have grace. But to a lot of people that don't believe in Christ, that's like a stupid idea to them, because it's like, why would you ever forgive somebody for hurting you? Why would you ever let any of that go? But
They owe me.
yeah.
I want payback.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just things like that made me realize along the way that, wow, this is a huge misalignment. It's not just a convenience factor about dating a Christian. It's about somebody that can propel you in your walk as well.
I think that's a good word, propel.
Mm.
Like a good partner,
Mm.
a good wife
Mm.
should propel you
Yeah.
forward in
Yeah.
all areas of your life.
It's a good
Exactly.
partnership
Mm.
that improves both of you.
Yeah, and it's like, by no means just because you find a Christian wife does that mean she's
No.
going to be a good wife.
No.
So but like that element definitely is a big tick box, because you need that. You need somebody that at the very least agrees with you in what you believe at your core.
Yeah.
So
And then you've got,
Shucks,
you know,
man.
yeah.
imagine. Yeah, I just think there's there's young people
Mm.
Mm.
that are in the similar boat, just drawn away into a relationship shouldn't draw you away
Yeah.
from your family.
Mm.
Even a good
Exactly,
relationship
yeah.
should encourage that.
Yeah.
I think
A
Yeah.
healthy,
encourage,
a healthy,
for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
encourage you to spend time with your mum and dad. Encourage you
100%.
to serve them and love
Yeah.
them and
And the thing that I realized was as
Wow.
well that we're at the end of the day, because I felt a lot of the time a pressure to almost pick, like she would almost pressure me to pick between her and my parents.
right.
Like this was like your ultimatum. You either do this or you don't
Right.
you don't have me anymore. And to me, it's like my parents would never make me pick. So that's
Would-
so you go with.
What's love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
for sure, there's some people listening now
Mm-hmm.
that have faced it
Mm-hmm.
and didn't do so well, or
Yeah.
are facing it and are struggling, or are gonna face it.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone that doesn't have the ability to see things so clearly, that's kind of just going, well, my parents are talking smack and I don't agree with them,
Mm.
and I kind of know this is wrong, but I feel like she's the one or
Yeah.
he's the one.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
what pointers?
first thing I'd say is your first one always feels like the one. Always.
Ooh,
So
snap.
it doesn't matter like how. I mean, she very well could be the one. You don't know that for sure. But the idea is that if you see, like, pay attention to the signs around you. Don't think that other people around you don't know what's going on in your life, in your own relationship, because
I'm wrong.
the people that, like, I think a big sign that your relationship is healthy is that you have a lot of witnesses to it, that a lot of people around you, especially your parents, will be able to tell that it's good for you, that you are actually excelling and succeeding in that area, because it's a healthy relationship. And I guess the thing as well is, the thing that drove me there was, of course, my lack of any sort of that type of intimacy.
Sure.
So I would say for a lot of the people that want and haven't experienced that, find that with God first. You know, if you find the perfect template for it, then you know what to match it with. But with somebody like me, I kind of went into it dark. I had my religion, I had a set of rules, I had my bedtime prayers to take me through that, and I had no concept of that perfect intimacy with God. But I think if you chase that, if you pursue that, then it's almost guaranteed that the relationship that you will seek, that you will be sought after, will basically be like something that copies that template.
Yeah, right.
That follows that ideal relationship with God. So I would say chase that first. If you haven't already gotten someone in your sights, chase that first.
Because I think that's an amazing thing to say. What I'm thinking of, when you know what you want and what you need, like when you're going out shopping for a car or a present or something, when you know what you want, you'll get what you want.
Yeah.
When you don't have any idea, you'll just get whatever comes, whatever you see that looks good. That's what I just got from that. That's in layman's terms.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like, it's like your first thing is going to be the only standard you're ever going to have. So it's like your first one's always going to seem like the one and like the best thing you're going to ever have. So.
How can someone get to a point that's not at that point of allowing the voices around them to be, to have some effect, to be truthful, to speak into it? Because I there's a lot of young people who have some amazing people around, but then they go and make a decision, and then they hear the voices, and the parents, the mentors, the people around are going, "Oh man, not super sure," and they still run the other way. Because I've seen this, I watch it happen, and so I'm like, why can't they make that? My question is, how did you make that decision?
I mean, I didn't. I fell hard into it. I didn't listen to the people around me, and I just went hard in. And I feel like, I mean, from my own experience, if you don't listen to the people around you, the only way you can ever find out it's wrong is if you learn it the hard way. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people have to go through. That's just the reality of it. And that's what I had to go through to learn it. I'm just thankful that, God has grace, and he taught me quickly. Just one, get you in, get you out. It's the wrong thing. Learn from it, move on.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to you writing a book on that later on in life.
I'll subscribe.
One day.
What's the goal of your study with the engineering stuff?
I mean, I guess the goal with a lot of careers just to be successful one day. I enjoy engineering because I enjoy problem solving, and I want to be able to, that's the only real identifying passion that I've been able to locate within myself. And if I could do that for a living, that'd be pretty cool, first of all. And I'm a pretty ambitious guy. Right. Like, I like dreaming big, and I think one of the biggest challenges actually with my own personal journey with God was being able to let go of a lot of those dreams and ambitions that I have, because a lot of them are quite materialistic. Like, I used to write out my list of dream cars that I would put in my garage.
Let's go.
Like all 10 of them.
All 10.
10.
I was like, I want this one, and there would be like minimum $250,000 per car. Like, I was a big dreamer. Now it's kind of now it's narrowed down to 2 cars.
Okay, what are the two?
Bentley Continental GT and Audi RS6.
Oh.
One's a family car, one's a weekend getaway car.
The Bentley's a standard family car.
I've only got 3, and they probably wouldn't even meet the same price as your Bentley.
Yeah. That's why it's like it's a dream at this point, and it's very far from being justifiable, because they say they say it's only justifiable really to get a car that's worth half of your annual salary, and if you're getting like a Bentley, you should be earning $1 million a year. Just like, that's very far away. So maybe not.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. What on the note of making the millions, what's the goal out of what's your dream job out of engineering?
I would like to. Well, of course, you start off being like the hands and feet of the engineering family, like you're the design. So you design all of the prototypes and you run all the tests and all of that. I like being like in a leader position. I enjoy managing people.
Yep.
So I would like to progress to like a project leader pretty quickly.
Are we talking like electrical engineering? Yeah. Okay.
Like BattleBot type.
BattleBot.
He's like, I won that competition when I
That'd be
was
pretty
6.
cool, actually. Yeah.
I've done that.
I started that competition. No,
That's cute. That's cute, Marsh.
I just got to start to put something out there.
Yeah.
No,
So Elon Musk must be like a hero.
yeah,
right?
yeah, huge, big time. Like I don't think I'd want to be as big as him. I don't
Nah.
like it. I don't think I don't enjoy the spotlight as
Yeah.
much as like some of them do, I would imagine. But because like he's famous because he's rich. It's
Yeah.
like when you're at that level, it's just I don't want to be there at all. But I suppose it's like the thing that is most appealing to me about success is the freedom that comes with it.
Mm.
And when you're even like deciding whether or not you want to go to an extra thing, serving in the community, serving in your own church body, the thing that's your main constraint is time and finances. And I believe that being able to completely eliminate that, if you have the means to go through your life without needing to work as much as some people do, and really putting your all into it and gaining that freedom, you can create so much more room in your life for God.
And that's why I think it's an illusion.
What's an illusion?
Freedom and enough.
Yeah.
You could be right.
Oh,
You could be right.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And a wise man taught me actually
Yeah.
the same, because I was all about ministry.
Yeah.
For like the first few years, I was like, man, full-time ministry, let's go.
Mm.
And then I realized, like, who's going to pay for that?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
then you jump into full-time ministry, you just depended on the church.
Mm.
And then not only you depend on the church, what church is paying, how many churches are paying someone $100,000 a year to be a minister?
Yeah.
And that's, geez, how many people do you need in the building to do that? And then
Yeah.
what's the church about? It's going to be about drawing in that.
Mm.
So a wise man taught me, man, just grind hard, be sick if you can start a business.
Mm.
Then that business
Yeah.
runs itself and you can pay you to do ministry.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And so I feel you. But I think what you're saying is you need to have the structured and the limit drawn out,
Of course.
because the bar will just continually move. Once I have that million, then I can do this. But by the time you got that million, that bar's moved up to 10 million, and
Yeah.
then
I completely understand that fully. And
Because
that's-
even Paul says, even if you're a slave,
yeah,
you're free in Christ.
yeah, it's true.
You can serve God.
Mm. And
But
that's
how
true.
much easier is it serving with the Bentley
No.
four-wheel drive to drop the kids to school in? You know what I mean?
No, it's not. It won't be
the
easier.
Bentley is a coupe. The RS6 is the,
So-
is the 4-door.
It'll be harder to serve the Lord with the Bentley and the A6. What is it? Audi.
RS6.
Yeah. Well, I guess
It'll be harder to serve the Lord.
because then you're saying,
Serving the Lord is not a rich man's calling.
no, that's I believe it. I believe it.
Why is that though?
Eh?
Why is that?
Because you have to forsake all
Mm.
to serve the Lord.
Yep.
And when people allow money to get a hold of their heart, it always goes through the filter
Yeah,
of balance sheet, P&L,
of course. Yeah.
time. Because you running $1 million business, that's going to be taking 60, 70 hours of your week.
Yeah. Well, one thing.
I am serving the Lord in that, but then it becomes subjective and justifiable
Yeah, yeah.
in anything.
I understand that.
Oh, I've got no problem with people making
Yeah.
money and all that stuff. It's all good. But
Well, a wise man once told me like a lot of people ask him how much money is too much money, and the answer really is however much makes you lose faith in God. And I live by that. And if $2,000 in my bank account makes me lose faith in God, then it's too much for me.
Maybe it's not so much faith. Maybe it's
I don't
more
want to test that
focus.
limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not do
And
that.
that's the problem. I don't want to find out. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you know?
Mm.
Like I said, I think you put good measures in place, and then exactly the same thing with the dating that we're talking about.
Mm.
Hey guys, this is my business plan. This is what I'm thinking of doing. You know, hey man, by the way, you've had that. You got that million. Is it time to wind back now, or you know, why did you need that private jet?
I think if you can't serve God
Mm.
with $100,
Yeah.
you won't serve Him with $1 million.
Oh
Yeah.
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 You know,
Absolutely agree.
that's the
Yeah.
you know the keep humble.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that your heart has to be in the right place at
Absolutely.
all times first, when you start, wherever you go. Like, and that's why I would be like, I will take the success if it comes to me. I will work because I will make the most of every
Yeah,
opportunity
need
that
to
he
work.
gives me.
Absolutely.
And if he wants to provide me with that, then absolutely. But if it goes against any of his plans for my life and any of my own callings to pursue any of that material stuff,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to do it.
I've got no people listening to this probably think I'm anti God blessing them and providing for. No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm always one that says, if you want to help the poor, don't be one of them, because
Yeah.
I want to be a conduit
Mm.
to help people.
It's a pretty big misconception that good Christians can't be rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Agree.
Yeah, I think, and it's more just like what you're saying is people that are like, yeah, once I get to here, I'll start serving.
no.
And it's like, no, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, but I'm working to get there.
Yeah.
So what, man?
Yeah.
Serve the Lord
Yeah,
from when you wake up
Mm.
to when your head hits the pillow and
yeah.
you're done for the day.
Mm.
Wow, I love serving the Lord.
Mm.
And that can be in your business,
Yeah,
providing
absolutely.
employment for people. I get it.
Mm.
And in regards to you personally, I think you've got amazing examples.
Oh,
I think what you learn, where your head is at, where your heart is at.
massive.
You're in an awesome place. You will be in an awesome place. You know,
Thank you.
your dad. Just speaking on your dad. You know,
Mm.
look how hard he works.
Yep.
That's it.
I'm having calls with him the other week. It's like 8:30 at night, and we're Skyping, and I'm like, we're talking about just the word
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. You know, ministry time for
Mm.
both of us.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, where are you? There's ceiling tiles. Are you in an office? And he's like, yeah, I'm still at work. I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's like, I won't be out of here till 10 o'clock. And that's
The next morning.
Yeah. That's the way my mum works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was gonna say I can't speak on your mum because
Yeah.
my
Yeah, yeah.
relationship. You know, I don't know your mum that well, but So I know the examples you got around you are solid, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's definitely a culture of going the extra mile.
Yeah,
Not just
absolutely.
doing the 9 to 5. If you got to stay a bit longer, that's what my dad has always taught me. If you got to stay a bit longer to finish it up, then stay a bit longer. It doesn't matter if you don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I was talking with someone about that same point the other day. A lot of people see individuals who get successful and get things or get that position or get that.
Mm.
And they're like, oh, they're just so lucky. And it's like, no.
Nah.
They were the one that was answering the phone
Yeah.
call last minute and saying,
Come
hey,
on.
can you come in and do this shift because someone called in sick?
Yeah.
And they're not like, oh, sorry, I plan to go to the beach with my friends. They're like, oh, yep, sweet, coming in.
Yeah.
Because then the owner goes, man, who can we promote here?
Yeah,
Who's
that's it.
reliable? Who's always going to say
Yeah.
yes? Oh, that person that always
Mm.
goes the extra mile.
Mm.
100%. Firm believe,
good.
because I used to be one of those people that looked at someone, I'm like, oh, look at him. He's so lucky. How did he get that? It's like, no, man, it's called hard work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's no substitute for hard work and discipline.
Yeah.
One last piece of advice for anyone watching,
Ooh.
maybe around decision making or relationship with God, or just one thing that's sort of
Yeah.
burns in your heart.
Oh man. Don't treat God like an on-off switch,
Ooh.
because he's a constant. If you are following him the right way, he is a constant, passive or active part of your life. But he's always there. He's not something you turn on, turn off, or ask for help when you need it. Like, absolutely do that, but by no means is he a safety blanket
Nice.
that you can just put on when you need some help, or you're in a bad situation. In your ups and your downs and your mediocres, keep him in it. Keep it conscious of the fact that he is in it,
Great.
and you are only there because he is in it. So yeah,
Awesome.
that would be me.
Well, it's fantastic you've come to share with us.
Yeah.
People have seen you around, heard a bit of your story,
Mm.
but it's nice just to hear a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
Just capture a bit of your heart.
it's
You're
awesome being
amazing man,
Mm.
and love doing the journey with you and seeing you
on here. Yeah.
flourish and that. So
Yeah, man. Do it again sometime. Oh my gosh.
You need Strepsil, man.
Oh, bro.
It's coming of age.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome, mate. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.